Well, the only thing that the West can do against Muslims in the West, the only strategy that they can possibly pursue in order to be able to stifle Muslims in the West, persecute them, discriminate against them, coerce them, intimidate them, browbeat them, and bully them. The only way that they can do all of that is by separating them from the global Ummah. That's their only chance. They need to make Muslims in America, Muslims in the UK, in Europe, and so on, believe that they are minorities, that they're essentially surrounded. They need them to forget or to not notice that they're actually living in a very tiny sectioned off piece of territory that is itself dwarfed by the Muslim world. They need them to forget that the majority in their countries are a global minority. It's a bit like Singapore. Singapore is a good and very obvious example of what I'm talking about. You know, some people might not know that Singapore used to be just a district in a state of Malaysia. It's a country now, but it used to just be a neighborhood. And as a district, it was predominantly Chinese. As a district of Malaysia, though, that was a minority community in a predominantly Malay Muslim country, in a predominantly Muslim region. But when you wall that off and turn it into a country, well, then the Malays and the Muslims suddenly become a minority in that country. So they went from being a majority to a minority just on the basis of where the lines were drawn. Never mind the fact that they're the same religion and the same ethnicity as the majority of people in the region. Somehow, they came to think of themselves and to be treated as and to behave as though they are a minority. It's like if you put a box on the beach and fill it with shells, but then sprinkle a handful of sand between the shells. The sand is the minority in the box, even though the box is sitting on a vast amount of sand. The only way to not see that the shells are the real minority is if you are inside the box and can't see that it's sitting on a sandy beach. So you have to separate a part of the larger population and surround them with the smaller population to make them not see that there's more of them than there are of the people who are surrounding them. So they have to be separated from the Muslims in the West. They have to separate the Muslims in the West from the global Ummah. They have to separate them from the larger Muslim world. I know some Muslims in the West might get offended when I say that they're living in the periphery and not in the center. But look, the periphery is still part of the whole. It's better to refer to them as being in the periphery or in the diaspora than to refer to them as Muslims in the West. That's still inclusive. It still upholds their affiliation with the Ummah, with the Muslim world. And this affiliation and this connection needs to be strengthened. Because you have to know that you're not alone over there. You have to know that you're not a minority. You're part of a sprawling global family that cannot be underestimated or ignored. A global family that's going to be leading the world in the 21st century. I said they're going to be leading the world in the 21st century. You know, I've talked before about the diplomatic efforts being made by the Arab world and by BRICS over the past almost 3 months, and how it's helping to carve out a new political and economic order in the Middle East. But you have to understand that this new order is not only going to impact the Middle East. I mean, look at BRICS. There are about 10 Muslim majority countries that are poised to join BRICS. As I've said before, the Muslims are the single largest, most cohesive, and youngest population in the global South. The future of the global economy is going to be dominated by the Muslims. There's no two ways about it. That's your family. That's who you're part of. That's where you come from. And that's who you belong with. You know, you're dealing with people over there who focus on the dunya. So they might not respect you for your religion. They might not respect you for your decency and your morality. But you know that they respect people who have connections. You know, they respect people who, if they don't treat them right, they might lose their job. You know, when some person from like a well-connected family comes around and gets treated like everybody else until they discover who they are. And who they are means who they know or whose family they belong to. And then they get treated with kid gloves. Well, that's supposed to be you, because you come from an important family. It's supposed to mean more when they find out that you're Muslim than if they were to find out that your last name is Gates or Buffett or Zuckerberg or Musk. Your family is more important than those families. You're royalty, but you're too estranged from your family. And they have you thinking over there that you're supposed to try to become one of them. You're supposed to try to be accepted by them, approved by them. You're supposed to try to be like them and fit in. No, they have to try to fit in with the Muslims. A time is coming, quite soon, when they won't be able to do business without appealing to the Muslims. No global market is going to be more important than us. And furthermore, the Muslims are going to be key players in managing markets across the global south, not just in the Middle East, not just in the Arab world, not just in the Muslim world. But meanwhile, they're treating you over there like you're some unwanted orphan that they can just use and abuse as they please. Like you're the son or daughter of a king, but who has amnesia. So then they made up all these stories about your miserable origin and your history. Like they found you in an abandoned dumpster or something. And they taught you how to think about us. They taught you how to think about the Muslims. They taught you to think a certain kind of way about the Muslim world, because they're terrified that you will remember who you are and whose family you really belong to. So they make you look down on us. They make you think that we're backwards in the Muslim world, that we don't understand modernity and so on. They make you think that we don't have any freedom, that we don't have any rights, that we don't have any education. Make you think that we're all oppressed and violent and that bombs are going off all the time. All of that so that you won't connect, so that you won't integrate intellectually, culturally, and psychologically with the Muslim world. They want you to assimilate with them. Why? Because as I've said before, Islam is the natural remedy for the diseases of the West. And they don't want people to get cured. They want to keep selling them the drugs of materialism, amusement, consumerism, immorality, and nihilism. All these fake vaccines that don't cure the diseases but help you live with them for a lifetime. They want to sell you snake oil that dulls the pain of the disease. And you, as a Muslim, you're a threat to that business model. So they need to keep you down. They need to keep browbeating you. They need to make you feel like a misfit, psychologically and emotionally bully you, degrade and humiliate you, and confuse you. And they know that if you feel and identify as part of this huge, powerful, and increasingly important family, that they won't be able to treat you like that anymore. And they need to treat you like that in order to make you think that you have to win their approval just to make them stop treating you like that. And the only way to win their approval is if you contaminate that natural remedy, if you pollute that natural remedy until it doesn't pose a threat to their control of the market. And the market I'm talking about is the market of the hearts and minds of the population. So they want to make you think that you're a minority, and they estrange you from the Ummah, from the global Ummah, and they get you talking to us with the same superior attitude and the same sense of entitlement that they use when they talk to us. Part of the psychological colonization of Muslims in the diaspora, Muslims in the periphery, is that they start to think like the colonizers themselves. It's different for the Muslims in the Muslim world, the colonization, Muslims in the center. The main manifestation of psychological colonization for Muslims in the Muslim world is to admire the colonizers, to feel that the colonizers are superior. But for Muslims who live in the colonizing countries, they start to think with the same colonizer mentality themselves. They think that they know better. They think that they can dictate, like they're the center of the universe and everyone should listen to them and learn from them. They made you foreign to the Muslim world, and they made the Muslim world foreign to you. And that's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe in more ways than I can list. But being contained in the West, isolated inside the West, is disastrous. And I'm not just talking about your iman. It's disastrous intellectually. It's disastrous to your perspective and to your understanding, because perspective and understanding in the West are themselves disasters. It's destructive to your thinking processes. And then when you apply those crippled thinking processes to Islam and to the Muslim world, it produces something like a bad AI image. It's supposed to be a realistic, detailed picture, a detailed portrait, but it looks like Salvador Dali painted it. So you have to connect with the Muslim world as much as you can. Immerse yourself in discourse by and from the Muslim world. Acquaint yourself with the way that Muslims around the world think and feel, how they think and feel and talk about our history, about our present, and about our future. Get to know your family, and if you can, come and spend time with us in the Muslim world. You won't really understand the difference between the way the West has made you think and the way Muslims in the Muslim world think until you do this, until you're able to do this and actually mix with Muslims in the Muslim world. And it doesn't matter if you continue to live in the West, that's fine. When we talk about the West and we talk about Westerners, we're not really talking about a geographical region, but about a mentality. So you can live in the region, that's fine, that's not an issue. The issue is the mentality. Live there knowing that it is the periphery of the Muslim world, but that you are and always will be a part of us, a part of the rest of us, a part of the Muslim world, a part of the Ummah. And don't ever let yourself feel or be isolated. Become someone with a well-connected and powerful family, or at least know that you are a part of that family and act like it. And don't ever let anyone treat you like a nobody.